Hey guys, Kevin with Lifestyle Overland, coming to you with a first look video at the Alpine Halo9. Let's get into it. Alright, so this is not a full review video. I'm not releasing my final critiques of this particular device. This is my first impressions. We've been using it for about a month and a half, 2 months now. Have a few findings that we want to talk about, but first, I just want to let you know that this radio was provided by Gaia GPS. They wanted us to be able to test their new CarPlay function for their navigation app. So we thank Gaia GPS for this head unit. Now, if you haven't seen the install video of this, you can actually go down to the video description right now, click on that link and go over there and see what it takes to install this unit in a 5th gen 4Runner. Now, before you run off, this isn't just for 4Runners. This will fit in a lot of different vehicles. So if you go to crutchfield.com, type in your vehicle make and model, you'll get a list of all the different radios that'll fit into your vehicle, and hopefully this will be in that list. So one of the big reasons for this upgrade is because the factory Toyota 4Runner head unit was locking up constantly on us. It was dropping phone calls, dropping Bluetooth connectivity, and just generally getting worse and worse as it aged. So this was a good opportunity to bring in an improvement to those systems, as well as add our capabilities in with the CarPlay and Android Auto functions that come with this particular unit. Not to mention the fact we now don't have to have our big tablet sitting right here on its own RAM mount floating around the cabin. I'm not sure if that's going to be long-term viable. That's what this whole test is kind of involving here, but we're hoping that we can move most of our navigation and communication needs just to a phone to make it a little bit easier to carry around and reduce the clutter here in the cabin. Now, the overall construction of the unit is very solid. There's no rattles, there's no squeaks, there's no flexibility, even though this is cantilevered outside of the single den retainer for the factory head unit. It seems to be really solid. The bezel that's included with the kit, it is silver, which is going to be a turnoff to a lot of folks, but we just happen to have a silver 4Runner, so I'm actually okay with it. You have the option of painting it before you put it in, but that might not be a step you want to go through. I have seen this bezel for sale in different colors, but it's a separate unit, so you might have to do a bit of research to see if you can get the complete 4Runner unit with it already attached. Alright, so getting into the overall user experience, the startup speed on this is actually fairly quick. I would say every bit as quick as the factory unit, if not faster. The touch response and button control is actually very, very quick, as well as scrolling through screens both sideways and up and down, no problems, buttery smooth. The screen surface is a fairly glossy finish, so there is a little bit of glare, but not so much that it's absolutely unusable, even in the desert sunlight that we see here in New Mexico. It does tend to grab a lot of fingerprints though, so you might want to keep some lens cleaner along with you just for that occasional wash down. Now, you might be able to find an anti-glare screen protector that you can put over this to help reduce that, but it's not a deal breaker in our book. Back to the screen quality. The 480p resolution is probably one of the bigger complaints that we see about this unit. Personally, I get it. You're driving, you're only glancing down from time to time. You don't necessarily need a high resolution. However, if you are stopped on the side of the road and you're attempting to use some type of navigation app to make a plan, reroute, the resolution would be nice. So I'm hoping that future versions of this unit will see us with 1080 or maybe even 4K. The technology is there. Every phone has high resolution now, so I'm not sure why they didn't incorporate that into this unit. That being said, it's not a deal breaker for us. It's just something that we would like to see improved on. Night driving has been great with this, so long as you're within the factory interface. What we have found though is with Android Auto or even CarPlay, sometimes the screen just gets unbearably bright. I'm hoping that there's going to be an update in either Android Auto and or CarPlay to allow a bit more control over the brightness. Now, you can switch between day mode and night mode within the interface on your phone itself, but still sometimes it's a bit bright. The reverse camera pops up within 2 seconds of going into reverse. That's an acceptable function for us. And you can also override. So if you want to check on a trailer or see who's behind you, you can just hit the camera button down at the bottom of the menu and get a quick look back behind you. That's really handy. So far, the Bluetooth reliability has been great for us, although most of the time I am connected to the unit using Android Auto with my primary phone, so I haven't seen a lot of dropped calls. But there is one issue that we'll get into when we get further into the video and start talking about the pros and the cons. Now, as far as the clarity of the calls are concerned, I've been told by several people that I've talked to, in the 4Runner that they can hear me much clearer than they have in the past. So it seems as if the external microphone has been an improvement. And finally, the audio quality seems much improved. Now, I'm not very picky when it comes to sound. I'm usually got the windows down. There's a lot of extra noises while we're on the trail or while we're on the road. And so it's not been a big deal for me to just have an amazing sound system, but it does seem improved. It does seem like the output is a bit higher. So take that for what it's worth. All right, so jumping into the features, XM radio is pretty much a standard option with a lot of these units. We did opt for that particular receiver, and it's been working really well. Nothing really fancy to talk about there. Since we primarily use apps for our music, such as YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, and Spotify, so you will have all those options utilizing a phone. Now you're going to have the option to plug in an HDMI input to this unit, so if you want to run a Blu-ray player or even a PlayStation, you have that option. That might not be very attractive considering this is only 480p resolution. Now one of my favorite features about this unit, and one that really surprised me, was all the vehicle telemetry that is available through the OBD2 reader, which allows us to keep track of a lot of different outputs from the onboard diagnostic computer, such as voltage, coolant temperatures, mile per gallon, and transmission temperature. These are even customizable with some limitations. Now each one of these readouts can be set up to alert you if it reaches a certain parameter preset by you. For example, if you wanted to keep a track on your transmission temperature, especially while towing, you could set that limit at 250 Fahrenheit and the unit would alarm you if something was to go wrong. You might remember we were big fans of the Torque Pro app on our Samsung tablet, and it's really cool to have all that in one device right here. That being said, we still carry our Blue driver in case we want to plug in and read a code. All right, so moving into the phone options, we're going to start with Android Auto here, and we've got all the different apps that are compatible with Android Auto available on the screen. Just keep in mind that these are going to be a bit dumbed down from what is actually on your phone. Most of these will give you the option to override and utilize your phone to control things like your podcast, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, and Audible. However, we have found that for whatever reason, Google Maps will not let you run on the phone at the same time as the head unit is running, which can be a bit frustrating when you're trying to do a specific search. Having the ability to use some of our favorite apps makes it really nice while we're traveling down the road, especially on a much simpler and convenient screen. And you can always ask Google or Siri for something special whenever you need it. Hey Google, what's the weather today?
It'll be clear with clouds from time to time, with a forecasted high of 69 and a low of 44.
Now switching over to CarPlay, you're just going to have a selection of apps very similar to Android Auto and a much more dumbed down interface just to make it easy to glance down and make your adjustments while driving. The beauty of all of these is most of your controls on the steering wheel for the 4Runner will actually work with things like Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, and the Audible app, which makes it really handy for driving down the road and getting where you need to be in your music. Okay, so getting into the nitty gritty here, what are our thoughts so far? Well, the number one complaint that we've seen from people is the fact that this is a wired connection for Android Auto and CarPlay. However, you do have the option of some third-party devices, one that is called CarPlay to Air, so you can actually plug that into the unit itself and then connect via Bluetooth. That might be a viable option for people who are just totally against using a cable. Personally, I like the fact that my phone is connected directly to the unit and it's charging while connected as well. That goes hand in hand with the RAM mounts that we have located in the vicinity of the unit so that we can always keep an eye on both the phone and the head unit. We have seen some issues with Android Auto not allowing us to control a phone call. So after we send out the request to make the call will go through, but there'll be no controls on the unit itself or on the phone, even after you unplug it. So I've actually had to turn my phone off to end a phone call. Now it hasn't happened recently, so I'm assuming that there's been an update that's come out. It's just something to be aware of. So one of our favorite apps to use on this device is Google Maps. There is one catch though. You cannot use Google Maps on your phone while connected via Android Auto or CarPlay. Now this might not be a deal breaker, but it is a bit of an inconvenience if you needed to pull over to the side of the road and do a little bit tighter search on your device. You're going to have to unplug or disconnect from CarPlay or Android Auto. We're not really impressed with the visibility of Google Maps, especially when it's set to day mode. I'm not sure if this is an issue with the screen resolution or just simply the function of the phone through Android Auto or CarPlay. I'm hoping that this is going to be improved over time, but one quick trick is if you switch your phone to dark mode, it actually improves the visibility on screen. The settings for the device are only accessible after you put the emergency brake on, off, and back on again. But if you look on Amazon, there's an override for that. Use at your own risk though. One of the more popular questions we've got is, what about the vents that are getting blocked up top here? Well, actually, I've not seen a significant reduction in airflow, and it actually shoots a little bit of air straight down to your legs, which is actually kind of nice. And in case you were wondering, no, you cannot play CDs on this, so burn those puppies to MP3s. Now, one of the most annoying things that I've found is if you're listening to like an audiobook on your phone at a particular volume level and you switch over to XM, it'll just about deafen you because of the disparity between the two volume levels on the two devices. I really wish there was a way to adjust that threshold so that when you're switching back and forth between inputs, it's not going to deafen you. One of the biggest improvements I'd love to see on this device in the future is a way to adjust the brightness regardless of input, whether it's your phone or your vehicle. I wish there was a dial somewhere where you could adjust the output of the brightness of the screen at a moment's notice, because there have been times at night when switching between apps that you're almost blinded. I would like to be able to control that. Okay, so final thoughts. Just overall, so far, huge improvement over the factory head unit, no doubt. The functionality is absolutely out of this world. It's quick, it's responsive, it stayed reliable on the connectivity. Is it perfect? No. And I've been through some of the things I'd like to see improved, but overall, I still think this is a solid unit. The big question is it worth the price tag? Currently, just the unit itself is $999. If you were to buy this pre-built factory replacement for the Toyota 4Runner, you're looking at $1,500. It makes it easy to install, but you have to make the decision if all of those improvements are worth that price tag. We've really enjoyed having all of our favorite apps available in one single unit. We're able to listen to our music. We're able to navigate using Gaia GPS and Google Maps. We're also able to keep track of our vehicle telemetry on one page. Not to mention the fact that now we have PSI readouts through the OBD2 reader, so we can keep a track of our pressures while we're on the trail. Outside of all the app availability on CarPlay and Android Auto, one of the biggest things that I like about this setup now is the ability to use voice control to respond to a text message, make a phone call, look up a place on Google Maps, or ask what the weather's going to be like. It makes for an incredible addition to an already powerful system. One of the things that we opted to go with on this unit, but we haven't fully utilized yet, is an 8-circuit 12-volt controller, similar to what you would see a Switch Pro take care of. Now, eventually I want to move our fridge, our CB, our ham radio, and a bunch of miscellaneous circuits to this unit so that I can turn them off and on from one location. Once you activate this option, you have the ability to go in and actually customize your switches with their own names for each of the 8 circuits, which is a really cool touch. This might appeal more to the outdoor off-road overland market than the general consumer. All these little additions, plus the fact that the overall functionality blows the factory head unit out of the water, means that it's been a great addition for us, and we're looking forward to continue testing it. So stay tuned for the full-on follow-up review after we give this thing a bit more runtime. And don't forget, we'll also be doing some tutorials on how to use the Gaia GPS app using CarPlay on this device. So keep an eye out for those. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, subscribe. We've got all kinds of videos just like this, along with a ton of adventures coming at you. So stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next one. Safe travels.